Hi folks, Gavin here from Play TV, and today I'm going to take a look at a budget orientated Ryzen compatible motherboard from the guys over at Biostar. This is the Biostar Racing X370GT5 motherboard. Now it retails for around $150 in the US, and the UK price is roughly going to be about £150 to £160, which is obviously in the more budget range of AM4 socket motherboards from on AMD's Ryzen compatible motherboard list. Obviously this is an X370. It's an ATX motherboard itself, and it does look relatively nice. It's got a very striking design. It's got a racing black PCB with a racing flag, sort of checkered flag effect over the main course of the PCB itself. It supports AMD's Ryzen CPU, so that's Ryzen 3, 5 and 7. It also supports the APUs that are coming out from AMD as well, which obviously aren't on the market yet, but it will support them when it does come out. In terms of memory, it's got 4 DIMM slots, so it supports 64 gig of DDR4 memory. It's also supporting speeds of up to 3200 overclock. So it does support relatively fast memory, not as fast as Intel does on their, Z270 and Z170 platforms and chipsets, but, Ryzen is relatively new. I do hope to see faster kits available for Ryzen in the near future. In terms of connections and ports on the actual board itself, it supports, it's got 2 PCIe 16 slots, so it's got 1 Gen 3 slot and 1 Gen 2 slot. It also has 2 PCI x1 slots as well, so perfect for things like sound cards, extra networking adapters and even RAID cards as well. In terms of storage, there is 6 SATA ports on the board. This is SATA 3 ports with 6 gigabits a second, and there is also a single M.2 port as well, which obviously does support the ultra fast SSDs, so it is PCIe, and NVMe is a very big thing at the moment, and this board actually does support them. In terms of rear I/O connections, it has 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C port, 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 port, 4 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports. It's got 2 USB 3.1 headers on the board itself, and it has 2 USB 2.0 headers. It has a Realtek RTL 8118 AS gigabit LAN RJ45 Ethernet port. It also has Realtek Audio's ALC 892 8-channel audio. It also has things like SPDIF as well, and it has a PS2 port as well as a HDMI and a DVI port for connectivity to that features chips with onboard graphics. For stable and solid power delivery, Biostar have put on a 7-phase design, which obviously might not look a lot to overclockers, but it is a budget orientated Ryzen supported motherboard. And if you do want more power phases, but you have to have a Biostar board, then you want to take a look at the GT7 as opposed to the more budget friendly GT5. So we've talked a little bit about the board, we've seen the board, it's beautiful, it's here obviously. Take a look at the test setup. It's coming over here somewhere on our Ryzen test setup, so obviously we're going to take a look at the performance now and see how it compares to other Ryzen supported and other X370 motherboards on the AM4 socket. It's going to, hopefully it'll perform well, but we'll find out, won't we? And then we'll come back and I will give you my thoughts, baby. So, the GT5 from Biostar on AMD's X370 chipset, is it a good motherboard and is it worth your hard-earned money? Well, if you're building a budget system, you don't want to spend too much. You've got around $150, £150 to spend, and you're quite a you're not a stickler for the likes of the ASUS boards, you know, design, should I say, and obviously the ASRock board, then Biostar has, you know, it is a very decent board. It performs average, to say the best, to say the least, or should I say, and it's not exactly going to win any performance awards. It's not as good as I would have expected it to be and hoped it to be, but unlike some of the other boards we've tested previously, it actually supported our 3000 MHz Ballistics Elite DDR4 without much tweaking. I could load the, you know, XMP profile and such and dial in the right settings, and it worked perfectly first time, which is obviously a key credence to the board. Other things that I like about the board is the touch buttons. It's probably the first board that I've seen that actually utilises touch sensors in terms of buttons, which is, you know, it's pretty gimmicky, to say that, you know what I mean, but it's not. It's a nice touch, and I quite like it. In terms of power phases, I wouldn't overclock on this board. You know, it's got quite a small and weak phase design. It's perfect if you're going to do mild overclocks and you want to push your like Ryzen 7 CPUs a couple of hundred megahertz, you know, maybe to 4 or 5, maybe 4.1 gigahertz at an absolute maximum, then it'll be absolutely fine. Design is probably the best feature of the board in my opinion. It's pretty good looking. It does look a little bare though, other than, you know, the checkered flag over the board. It's pretty good looking. In terms of memory support, as I've just said, it dialed in our settings, no problem at all, but it does have pretty decent memory support. You can put 64 gig of DDR4 in this, and obviously overclock it to speeds of up to 3200 megahertz, which is pretty decent, and it's in line with the rest of the Ryzen board supported boards. Awards. Now, I'm not going to give it any performance award. It's not, I don't think it offers as much value in terms of other boards I've seen in the same price range. I mean, the rear I/O is very lacking. There is only 5 regular USB ports, so USB 3.0 ports on the board. I would use them up, and I'd need to use a hub. I need an extra 4 ports on what they're offering here. It does look a little bare as well, as you've seen in the previous part of the video. It does look a little bare. Other than that, in terms of awards, it's probably going to get our silver award. Boom! I think it does deserve silver, but it certainly doesn't deserve gold. And I think, you know, Biostar used to be a big player in the motherboard industry, and they've obviously been lacking behind the likes of ASUS, MSI, Gigabyte over the years. And although they do make boards mainly in the Asian market, to see them in the Western world, like some American and the UK as well, it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And this board is decent. It's really good, but it just isn't good enough to get our top award today. Performance performs well, but it doesn't perform as good as I would expect it to do. And for the price, you can probably get a little better. The ASRock board that we reviewed previously, the Killer SLI, is a little bit more money, but it does perform better. And obviously, although it doesn't look as good as, you know, the GT5 does, it, you know, in terms of relative performance, the Killer SLI beats it, and even the K4 as well, which we reviewed as well. But yeah, I would like to thank Biostar for sending in the X370GT5 racing motherboard. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's nice to see it's nice to finally see a Biostar board here at Player. It does obviously have RGB in the heatsink, but it's not great. It's very, very, you know, it's RGB, so we'll leave it there. So yeah, thanks Biostar for sending the board in for review. Thank you for watching, folks. Check us out in our next video. Be cool, and ciao for now. Boom. I'm hungry. What would happen if I stuck my tongue in? It features a variety of sorts. It features in terms of storage options, there is 6 SATA free ports. No, fuck that. Don't fucking put that in. Ooh. In terms of storage, it has 6. Hello.